Welcome back, everybody. I'm standing here with Len Baxter and his incredible Velocity that he custom installed make sure I get this right, Len, a Chevy LS3 V8 Corvette.
Corvette engine or crate engine.
Okay.
Brand new, right out of the factory.
Okay. You guys have seen some flying videos with this, and we've done a little bit of walk around before, but the airplane is completed. Obviously, it's flying now. So what I thought we'd do is we kind of take you around the airplane and show you all the details. All right, starting on the front of the airplane, we obviously have the forward wing or the Canard. And I noticed you have the vortex generators on here. Can you explain what they are and what the purpose is?
Well, vortex generators allow a wing to fly slower at a higher angle of attack before it stalls. And stalls means it stops flying. And in this plane, both wings are lifting. So this allows the plane to go slower, land slower, and if needed. And it's about 5 knots on landing speed, which is nice, very nice, because it's a fast bird and the landing speed is up around 70, 75 knots. You know, so that's pretty quick.
Okay. On the Canard also, we have custom made, well, let's see, are they landing lights or just recognition lights?
Well, they're both.
Okay.
I can put them on as a taxi light, as a solid light, or I can put them on as a recognition light where it flashes, and there's all sorts of flashing patterns between the two sides.
Okay.
And it's kind
So
of cute.
tell us what you did here, because this is all custom made.
I bought some plexiglass at Lowe's and I made a wooden shape, the shape of the wing, and I put the plexiglass in the oven with the wooden and bent it over that shape, trimmed it up, and then installed it so it becomes part of the wing. And
it's perfectly flush to it. It looks great. And then this aluminum part on the inside here, you created that and bent it to fit. And then is this lens mounted to that aluminum?
Yes, the lens is to the aluminum and then fits tight to the glass. The aluminum has a purpose. It's a heat sink.
Okay.
Yeah, these things generate a fair amount of heat, so that provides the heat sink so you don't melt things and don't destroy the light.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. Well, let's move around to the front. Coming around to the front of the airplane, I wanted to show you guys this, and we may have showed it before, but talk about what you have on the pointy end of the airplane here.
The pointy end, yeah. Well, most Velocities, just about all that I'm aware of, if you go and park overnight or tie down, you got to tie a rope on your nose wheel strut and tie it to the ground. And I don't like bending, so I decided I'm going to do this. And I put this little device here, which allows me to tie to. It's also a ground point when I'm fueling. And last but not least, it acts as the pickup point when I put the airplane on jack stands. There's one under each side of the wing, and this one puts it up in the air, and I can run all the gear, do all the testing I need to do. So that's my little...
And if you forget to push it in, the wind will just blow it in.
Yeah, but when I land, put the brakes on, it comes out.
Does it? All right.
Well, one of the things with a lot of airplanes, the home-built airplanes, is that they use differential braking between the two brakes to turn the plane. In my case, I decided I wanted nose wheel steering, which makes it a much easier plane to handle on the ground and wherever you're going on the ground. So what I did is I put a hydraulic cylinder here, and there's one attached to the rudder bell crank, and it's identical to that. So when I press the button on the stick, I can engage that hydraulic cylinder with a little pin, and the rudder pedals now turn the wheel as well as the rudders. When you're in the air, disengage, or taking off, actually you don't need it after about 20 knots, because the rudders actually take over then. Anyway, just let go of the button, and now you got rudders without anything else.
And one thing I wanted to point out so people can appreciate this is all of this is custom designed and created by you. I mean, that's your own design. You fabricated all those parts, so that's a really nice custom touch.
Anyway, as you look at it from the front, you see we've got our gear doors. This is mechanically actuated. Mine are on a very unique spring system which allows them to over travel and not jam, which which is really nice. And you see on this side the NACA scoop leading into the oil cooler, or one of the oil coolers. And on this side is the NACA scoop leading into the fresh air ducts on the panel. Now, if you're looking at the main gear, one of the things that's tough on a Velocity or any pusher airplane is as you rotate, your prop goes awful close to the ground. When they made this kit for me, I asked them to make the gear 1 inch longer. So that raises the prop. The whole plane is up 1 inch higher than all the other Velocities that I'm aware of.
Now, Len, on the bottom of your airplane, it kind of looks like a P-51. And I know that you custom designed and built this, I guess we'll call it a P-51 scoop. Can you talk about that and tell us what it's for and what it does?
Well, this provides the air to the radiator. A lot of auto engine conversions have a problem with overheating. And I did a lot of research, and there's a number of things that control that. And one of them is getting enough airflow and having it at the right angle of attack. And when you have the inlet, you've got to make sure it then slows the air down as it travels to the radiator to build up pressure. So you notice that the scoop is smaller at the front, and it widens and goes deeper at the back. And that allows the air to slow down. There's a few vanes in there to turn it, and the radiator's right up next to the firewall on a 45-degree angle. And last but not least, they've got augmented exhaust. We'll show that when we get around. And that creates negative pressure, which sucks that air in as well.
All right, Len, a question that I have for you is I've seen, in fact, just in Owasso the other day, we saw a Velocity fly in that had fixed gear with wheel pants. And obviously yours has retractable landing gear, which I'm smart enough to know makes the airplane faster. But can you tell us maybe just how you went with your decision to go with retractable landing gear versus the fixed gear?
So when I was looking at building the Velocity, you know, it's a high-performance aircraft. It's meant to go fast. And if you go fast, you're going to burn a lot of fuel. Well, with the retractable gear, you can get 20 knots faster, approximately, at the same fuel burn. So your horsepower goes farther, you can go farther in a tank of gas. There's all sorts of good reasons. The only bad thing is the insurance companies don't like retract gear.
Now, I noticed on both wings you have 3 of what I just call things, because I don't know what they are. So
they're called volerons, I believe.
Okay, what do they do?
Well, they are intended to stop on, this is a delta wing, so instead of having the leading edge being 90 degrees to the direction of travel, it's swept back, just like a jet,
yep.
Fighter jet. And these volerons stop what they call span-wise flow, so stop it from flowing this way and make it go that way, because when it goes that way, you get lift. This way just wastes it. Okay, interesting. And I noticed you have some other things on the back of the wing too, so we'll go around to the back and we'll discuss those. Okay. Now I'm going to ask a question and then get out of the way, but I was wondering what these 2 things on the back of the wing are for. Well, these are trailing fences. This is the aileron. This is what makes the plane roll, gives you your directional control. These I put on probably about 10-15 hours into flying the bird. As you get slower, the plane is not as controllable because you just don't have as much air going in the right directions and all that good stuff. The rudders are quite effective, but the ailerons become ineffective. So when you put trailing fences, there's another Velocity guy who's had them on for years, and I'm going to give him all the credit because I talked to him and said, let me try this. So I got some plywood, made some plywood ones, duct taped them on, tried it, and all of a sudden it was much more controllable, very, very close to the control I had with my old Cessna. And so I then made proper ones, put them on. Now they make the aileron effective at low speed, right down to landing. Well, now we're at the back of the airplane, and this is where underneath this cowling sits a brand new Chevy LS3 V8 Corvette engine that Len custom engineered and custom installed into this airplane. So Len, just tell us about this engine. Well, the LS3 is in the Camaros, it's in the Corvettes, it's in the Chevy Tahoes, the GMC Denali's. You know, it's a 6.2 V8, all aluminum, so it's not heavy, which is wonderful. This particular version of it, the normal LS3 is 430 horsepower. This one's just short of 500 horsepower, and it develops that at 5,200 RPM, I think is the number. Don't quote me on that. But I've put of course, you can't run a prop at that speed, so there's a propeller reduction unit, which is attached to the flywheel. It's big gear, little gear, very simple, bulletproof. That slows it down so the prop doesn't go over 2,700, I think is what we want to keep the prop at. And in doing that, the ratio I chose was 1.56 to 1, which basically keeps the engine not going over about 4,600 RPM. So I'm not stressing it. I mean, the engine is designed to go up to 6,500, and so it's generating, I don't know, probably about 430, 420 horsepower at that speed. You can't get all the way to the 500 because they don't let it go that fast. But anyway, the other thing that's interesting about this is I made the headers. They have the stainless steel headers that are coming down, and they go into this augmentation tube. That is not the exhaust tube per se. It is where the exhaust comes out, but it creates a jet pump. Now, a jet pump is a very high pressure stream around a tube, and when you, just like a water jet pump, when you push that pressure through there at high rates of speed, it attracts other fluid, and as a result, it takes the cowling and makes it negative pressure, which we talked about the P51 scoop. That makes sure even on the ground, when you're not flying, you are sucking air through that radiator.
And then I noticed on the top of the airplane here, we have 3 of those, well, two large ducts and 1 smaller one. Is that air for engine combustion, or is that just like cabin air? What are those for?
Well, on a normal velocity with an aircraft engine, the 2 big ones cool the engine and provide induction air.
Okay.
On this plane, because all my cooling is done through the radiator, those 2, this one over here feeds the intake, so that's where the air comes in through the throttle body. On this one, I'm feeding a second oil cooler. And the middle one, the little one, provides pressurized air for the cabin for the overhead vents, just like you have on an airplane, on a regular aircraft.
So now all that power goes into this propeller, and of course the propeller creates the thrust to move the airplane forward. And now correct me if I'm wrong, you have a 3-blade on here because I think with a 3-blade propeller, it can be a shorter diameter, which gives you more clearance in the back. Is that true, or is there a different reason?
I didn't take advantage of the shorter. I made it as long as I could because it's a lot of horsepower I'm trying to use.
Okay.
So the 3-blade lets me get the horsepower out. In fact, they offered me a 4-blade. I just couldn't afford it. That would have been able to put all the horsepower into it if I chose to.
Okay. Now I know a lot of car guys, you guys have just no idea how expensive airplanes are and how expensive airplane parts are. First, let me ask you, a brand new Corvette engine, what does it typically run?
Well, a crate engine, LS3, okay, is in the 9,000–10,000 range for the 430. Now, when I bought this is 2015, I could get that same engine, the higher horsepower, the 500, for, I think I got it for 6,800.
So 6,800. Now, if we put a Lycoming aircraft engine in here, 60, 70,000?
In those range at least.
Yeah, 60, 70,000. Now, let me ask you this. Just something like this propeller. What are we looking at to buy a propeller like this?
Well, the propeller, and of course this is a variable pitch propeller, so this is my transmission as well. So it allows me to take a bigger bite or a smaller bite of the air, which allows me to slow the the engine down when I'm still going fast because I'm getting a bigger bite. But because it's got constant speed and it's got very beautiful blades, this is about, when I bought it, is about 18, 19,000 as a package. And now I'm thinking you're closer to 23, 24, I'm guessing.
Just for a propeller. Wow.
But you know, it's the Cadillac. It's the Cadillac of propellers, the MT. Now it's a wooden. Believe it or not, this is a wooden core with fiberglass outside, and the leading edge is nickel. But it's relatively fragile.
Yeah. Now, I know that on some of the other videos on this airplane, people were wondering about the exhaust coming out and melting the propeller. Now, obviously that doesn't happen, but that's not a concern at all? I mean, there's a lot of pusher airplanes with the propeller on the back, so it's just, the propellers are meant to withstand that kind of temperature.
Well, two things. First off, I got 140 hours almost on this bird. Push it real hard, well over 200 miles an hour at times, but it likes to cruise, you know, around 190, 200 miles an hour. There's a nice fuel burn on it, which is pretty nice. But, so I've got all those hours and not a mark from the exhaust. But this helps because I got all that air that's coming just straight through, not exhaust, and watering down the exhaust, you might say.
Okay, interesting. Yep.
So, you have to check your oil and your radiator fluid and add oil now and then. So I've got this door here, which is custom built. There's my rad cap, there's the dipstick, and there's where the oil goes in. So it's all together, nicely accessible. And we put it down, we snap our fingers, and it closes.
Very cool.
All right, so let's go inside and see what the interior looks like. It's looking pretty good these days. We got a lock so we don't accidentally get the door open while we're in flight. That's not a good thing. Our handle's under here. Lift up our gull wing and mark.
We have a beautiful panel with a 10-inch Dynon screen, Garmin 175, and an iPad mounted on the panel. And we'll take another detailed look at the interior, but for right now, we'll have Len come around on the other side. We'll talk about the instrument panel.
All right. I've gone with a mix of glass and conventional. Conventional is I've got breakers. A lot of people are using solid state systems. But the Dynon system allows me to fly this as a controlled airplane here with my trim and the stick working as you would expect. Or over here, I've got all the controls to go full autopilot. This plane will follow the instructions you give it and fly anywhere. I can fly to Texas and basically not touch it all on its own. And as you're approaching an airport, if you're in IFR conditions, meaning instrument flight rules, I've got a Garmin 175, which is linked here, which gives me the approaches, makes it all legal to fly in the clouds, and it'll take you right down to the runway. Now, two radios. This one is really nice. This is a PS Engineering radio, and it also allows me to talk amongst the four people here. As an intercom, it allows me to talk on the phone. My cell phone is linked to this. I can have music linked to this. It's quite a nice device. The power is provided through these two breakers, and that each one controls a battery, and and connected to the main bus. This is all electric airplane, so I've got to make sure I have the appropriate backups. And that's what I've done with the engine and all the electronics. The engine, I'll mention right now, and we didn't talk about it earlier, but it's running as two V4s, two of them, interlaced. Because of firing order, you can do that. And as such, I have two ECUs, two electronic control units for controlling the spark and the fuel injection. And that gives me 100% backup should anything fail on one side or the other. And the plane, I've done it many times, the plane flies perfectly well on 4 cylinders. Plenty of horsepower to get you around and down to the ground to find out what's wrong. The other thing that's very interesting is I've got what I call an E-bus. And if I flip this switch, I go to a 3rd battery. And that battery controls just the ECUs and the fuel. And so if all else fails, I flip that switch and everything's isolated, and I don't care what's happened and shorted or whatever. I can shut all the power off over here, and that battery will get me to the ground.
And one thing to point out, because I remember on our first video you did talk about the 2 V4s, and some people were confused and they thought it was meant so that in air you can shut down half the engine and save on fuel. It's not meant to fly on 4 cylinders. That's just an emergency.
Absolutely.
Separating it in case of emergency.
Yeah, my Tahoe has the same engine. Okay, and I can't tell when it's switching from V4 to V8, but GM does it on that engine with deactivating the valve system. So it hydraulically deactivates the valves. That makes it so it isn't pumping air because it becomes an air compressor.
Yeah, right.
Mine, when I shut off one, the valves are still opening, pistons obviously going up and down, and it's an air compressor. And it actually detracts from your fuel economy when it does that.
Yeah, okay.
So, but no, it's totally for redundancy. I've got redundancy on every single system here.
Yeah. Now, one thing I think is amazing about this airplane is your interior. This is obviously all custom built. It's custom leather wrapped. Even like this little access hole right here has a nice leather cover on it.
Yeah, but I need a black screw on it. It's got a silver one.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, just look at the craftsmanship on here is just amazing. I know you added this armrest a little bit later. That looks, oh, you got a fire extinguisher in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. And now you have heated seats in here.
Yes, we have heated seats. Right here's your button. There, they're on now.
Okay.
And either left or right. I've got the USBs for your phones or whatever else you decide. And I've got a defogger to heat up the windscreen.
Sure, just like a car.
Yeah. Yeah, it's heated seat and heated back. And my wife loves the fact that she can have her back warm and not turn the seat on. There's another switch on the seat itself which controls that. These seats, the front seats, are what's called contour foam. This is ultra leather. And as you press into it, you slowly go down. It's like a memory foam, but it really reacts to body heat. So as you sit, if the seat's cold, it's as hard as a rock, and then in a matter of minutes, your body heat warms it up, and it contours to your body, both front and back. It's the most comfortable thing you ever get. And the other thing I did on the seats that's very unique is I added width here, so it's wider than a normal velocity seat. The other thing I did is I mounted it on a track. I've got to get that out of the way. So I can pull it all the way forward and allow a person to access directly into the rear. The rear seats are also on a track. They can move back and forth as required. And got an oxygen system for high altitudes above 12.5. And of course all the retractors and appropriate belt systems.
And then just look at everything is carpeted nice. You got like a little storage compartment there. The seats are kind of in the way, but I remember, you know, as you were building this, the craftsmanship on the back, just the leather and just everything is just amazing. Now, somebody did ask about the ceiling. Obviously, that's not finished yet. Will that be painted, or is there a cloth that goes on there?
It'll probably end up being painted because it's very hard to install a cloth now.
Okay.
And I have the cloth. It's a special headliner cloth. And I may do it that way. I may paint it. I haven't decided. I should have done it while I had the plane upside down in the early stages of build.
And then on the ceiling here, you've got air vents, lights. Passengers back here have lights.
Oh, I should have had those on.
There we go. Yeah, just amazing. There's a lot of room in there too, isn't there?
Oh yeah, yeah. Especially like these seats. When you're when you're flying, this is about where it would be. Now look at the leg room the person's got behind.
Yeah, plenty of leg room.
Yeah, and you know, this seat is nice. I'm going to come around. You can take a picture. Now, another thing why I chose the Velocity, I mean, the Velocity is great from an egress and access exit perspective. And for us old guys, climbing up on a wing, sitting down in a plane, or climbing over and trying to get in and over a tunnel is very difficult. On this plane, all I do is sit my butt up, roll in, because I got lots of leg access, and then pull the seat up.
It does look pretty easy.
And you know, I've got all the controls. I can do what I need to do. And for exit, all the way back,
roll on out. Well, and I know that people want to hear this thing start up and roar.
okay.
Just soaring into the home base, 9G2 on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Yeehaw!